Holding Absence released their brand new album, The Greatest Mistake of My Life.
I'm alive. How'd you
Yep,
like
that's
that?
certainly how the album starts. This album feels like a work of art that I should be able to appreciate, but I'm somehow not able to.
Yep.
It is
Interesting. That is exactly how I feel.
I pretty much had that exact thing written down, so yeah.
this album is a piece of art. Like the musicianship, the lyricism, the way it all comes together feels like it's a piece of art. An expensive piece of art at that. But I listen to all of the songs and something's not clicking for me, and I struggle to put words to what it is.
I have the same feeling about their previous album as well.
Yeah, I felt like that more so, but also less strongly. Like, if that makes sense, like
this
I
is
felt
better
more
than
that
this is definitely better than their last album. 100%.
Yes, I agree, 110%. That last album honestly felt kind of forgettable to me. I'm not gonna lie, like it was one of those things like I mentioned earlier where everything I was hearing was good, but like I never really felt the need to revisit any of it. This this is more so like I am able to appreciate that this is a work of art. I have a lot of, well, not a lot of, but there are plenty of songs on here that I can enjoy by themselves. I feel like this is an album that you really have to be in a certain headspace to enjoy to its fullest extent, and I am just not in that headspace. Like if I had recently lost a loved one and I heard this shit, it would be like instant album of the year, no question about it. Like we're done, pack it up, we'll have the awards show now. This is all top 10 albums and runner up. Like there's a lot to appreciate here as like a cohesive art, like sonically, in terms of theme, lyricism, all of it in one package is probably the most impressive album I've heard in a long time. But on a track to track basis, it's not clicking with me as much. I appreciate it more as a whole than I do in terms of each individual song. Does that make sense?
Yep, definitely.
Like,
I think I agree with you on that.
Okay.
Fair enough.
This is my favorite album of the month.
Ooh. Okay.
And
So,
it's no contest.
Why don't you speak about it then if you're so high on it?
Yeah, sure.
Go into it.
So
he's in this corner.
You're allowed to come out of timeout now. Tell us about Holding Absence.
Yeah, so you guys pretty much have already said what I enjoy about it. The lyricism, beautiful. They nailed it out of the park. Lucas's vocals are amazing. No My Roses is probably my favorite track that's released this year so far.
Ooh.
In the context of an album. But I will say, even though this is my favorite of the month, it does overstay its welcome. A lot of these songs are too long. If they were about 3.5, just about 3 minutes, probably be a bit more digestible as an album. Otherwise, a lot of it kind of feels the same. So that's why I kind of agree with a lot of your sentiments and why I'm not really, combating it or anything. I do agree this album is flawed in different ways. I just feel like I am able to appreciate in a way you guys at this current moment, with the album only releasing a couple weeks ago, haven't had the chance to be able to take in fully, and I'm not trying to put myself on a higher pedestal than I am. It's just that I'm in that headspace, or I have been in that headspace before, to where something like this can resonate with me. That being said, I don't know if this is going to end up on my top 10. It might somewhere. I do know that this album is good on the first listen. If you've got the 40 odd minutes, I think.
So
48, 50 minutes. Go ahead.
I feel like this album could be a similar to Movement's for me.
Mhm.
It could grow on me a lot and eventually
I think that's
be
a
very
good
high
comparison for sure.
in my top 10.
Some of the songs almost feel movements-esque as well, in the sense
Mhm.
that like
Yeah.
I think one of my biggest issues with this album is that sometimes the choruses just don't have that oomph. And I feel like Movements also kind of has that, where you just kind of casually smooth transition into a chorus without too much extra instrumentation. And I feel like in particular on a song like Curse Me With Your Kiss, the chorus just doesn't really hit that hard for me in that song. Just because I mean there's no instrumentation to kind of make it pop. And I think that Movements comparison is very accurate, especially for that song. On the other hand, you do get some songs that do really excel in the chorus, and I think we haven't touched on it in particular yet, but Die Alone in Your Lover's Arms is one of my favorite songs off of this album, if not my favorite.
It is my favorite.
That chorus is so powerful. Um, and the fact that Lucas was able to feature his sister to do the vocals on that song, like, not only does she have a great voice, but I feel like that adds so much weight to like the emotional value that this album holds. The fact that you're confident enough to bring your sister into it,
Yeah.
like this feels like a very personal album, a very emotional album, and that's no secret. But I feel like that feels like something you only do when you are so confident in your vision and message that you want to spread with this album, and it worked fantastic.
I absolutely love the close or the ending of that song where they're both going back and forth.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Am I out of pocket to say that Morning Song is my favorite song off this album?
Yes.
No.
Maybe.
Because
Three different answers.
Every single
Great guys, thanks. No, we've talked a lot this podcast about songs that maybe do or don't feel their runtime. This gotta be the shortest 7-minute song I've ever heard in my life. Like it just feels like a journey. Like I feel like that's in part to like the lyricism, because you spend at least for me, I spend a lot of time like listening to this lyricism and like reflecting on it, so the song doesn't feel
Mhm.
as long, because I'm more like enjoying it as
Yep.
a concept rather than a song. Like, hold on, I've got lyrics. My entire life is shrouded now that death's black wing eclipsed your sunshine. I sit here in mourning, knowing that you left while you were lost, and now I'm petrified of leaving before I belonged. And then that last bit where he hits that note, if this is my last chance to sing you to sleep, let this be my morning song. It's like, damn. Like, shit, man. Like, I'm on the way to work. I didn't need to be feeling this way. Like,
I also
I
think
just-
it's important to note that this song does or this album opens up with Celebration Song and then
And,
closes with
yeah.
Morning Song, which
Yes.
is a
Yes.
very nice touch.
Yeah, I mean,
I
just
never
again
noticed
that. Yeah, it goes back to like this album in as a whole is art. And if I was basing my overall like album of the year, whatever, on like a cohesive package at its face value, this would be album of the year easily. Just because it's a masterpiece. I'm just not able to click with certain songs in a way that makes me want to just put them into my playlist. You know, and so I end up spending less time with this album because I can't just hit shuffle in my playlist and have some of these come up. Like, I have to be in the right mood. I have to hear them in the context of the album.
Yeah.
And that to me is what's holding me back from loving this album song by song more than I do.
I think probably the best example of that for me is Drugs and Love. That song is like when I heard the opening, that it has like a very almost cinematic opening to it, with like the distortion on the vocals and like the scratch effect almost.
Yeah.
I hear that and I'm like, is this song of the year potential? And then it just fades into like what the rest of the album is. It's like that emotional post-hardcore kind of sound that doesn't really pop that much. And I feel like if you combine that opening of Drugs and Love with the energy of An Afterlife or
Mm.
a No More Roses, you get like one of my favorite songs of the year. I'm a sucker for openings like the one of Drugs
Yeah.
and Love, but again, it's one of those songs that I feel like you only feel the full impact of it in the context of the full album.
See,
And like it's hard to listen to it outside of that context and like be able to appreciate it the same way.
I think I'm laughing because it's funny because Drugs and Love is actually one of the few that I was able to take and put into my playlist that I accept being able to go on shuffle. Afterlife I've had in there for a while, but Drugs and Love, Die Alone, and Morning Song were the ones that I've listened to most because I've been able to just put them in my playlist.
Yeah, No More Roses, Drugs and Love, and Celebration Song for me.
Also, Beyond Belief, big grower for me since it was released as a single.
Yeah, I mean,
It is
I'm
way better in the context of the album.
That was me with
yeah.
Circles.
Yeah, definitely in circles, but I think Beyond Belief has definitely grown on me. It's another one of those songs that kind of lacks some of that energy, which, given that it was the lead single, I'm almost surprised that I wasn't expecting more of that kind of sound throughout the album. But I definitely think it's a song that grows with time. It's very. I think that's probably like the best song that I can compare to Movements almost,
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, I could see it.
or one of them at the very least.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
some ways. And given how high I feel like as a group we are on that last Movements album, definitely we don't take that comparison lightly. I don't think.
Right, yeah. I think that the main difference is that one was a bit more accessible, and like that, the Movements album to me is something that if you're in that headspace, you can connect with it that way. If you're not, there's still a lot to love individually.
I'm gonna disagree
Whereas
there.
for oh yeah,
Yep.
man, man.
Man.
Well, I guess that's why I had it higher last year.
No, I don't. I don't know.
I mean, I could literally pick out any one of those songs and put it in the, or like it would come on and shuffle my playlist. I'd just be like, whatever. I'm vibing.
Okay, I agree with that. You could just
Yeah.
put any movement song
Yeah.
in your playlist. Yeah, fair enough.
Which is, I feel like, the difference with this one. This one has more potential to be more impactful if you're in that headspace. But again, like song to song, it's harder to pick out any individual song and listen to it at any given point.
And I almost feel like that's like credit to them to be able
Right.
to create that, like the album experience.
Yeah,
In a day where
exactly.
singles are so dominant, to be able to create something that is that powerful in the context of the album is really like a special art.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tons of talent overall, just across the board in this band. Made me into a fan after not being as high on that 2019 album. Definitely.